Namaste, this is Dilani Diva. I hope that you are all doing well. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about displaced anger and displaced energy and how it can really affect our lives and then the universal energy that we live in today. This form of thought or this contemplation that I was going through with my spirit guide, Leanna, who is a very, very wonderful guide, and I'm blessed to be able to share her thoughts and her views with you, came from all these tropical storms that are hitting the islands, hitting our mainland, and causing so much of grief and pain. And I thought, am I being a solution spiritually to this situation, or am I being a part of a problem to this situation? Now, recently, with all the internal human unrest, that civil unrest that we've been going through, I've been getting a little annoyed and angry and mad at some of the disruption that has been caused by people just, being violent for whatever reason. And so I was looking at that form of energy and my reaction towards it and my feelings towards it. And then I also noted that, I may be adding to this frustration and anger that is there. We carry a lot of anger within ourselves, much more than we carry the feeling of love, unless we are driven and we are focused. If we are annoyed, this annoyed energy, this anger energy can stay with us and resonate with us. Why is it like that? I mean, spiritually, I have to work very hard at stop being annoyed at something, or being kinder towards something. I really have to work hard at it, and it is very almost like mind over matter, spirit over matter, but it can be done, absolutely. But I recognize that we do get very angry and very upset with people because they're different to us, or they're doing something that it doesn't really gel with our way of thinking and also my way of thought. And so recently, as an example, was all these destruction of these Confederate statues in Charlottesville. Now I am an immigrant, and I've lived here for many years, over a decade, and I've grown to love the country as my own, and a great follower of the arts and the spirit, artistry, music, painting, dancing. I am so loving of all these arts, has been a huge part of my spiritual journey, which I'm very humbled to share with you. And so I come to Charlottesville and I'm like, oh my Lord, to me that statue only symbolizes a person, a hero of the past who has had some blemishes in their life, of course. None of us are without that. But somehow it also brings back that period to us and reminds us. So for me, that statue was more of a symbolic reason, not necessarily the enslavement of human beings, but a period in which we went through that, but now we are celebrating our sense of freedom. The freedom that the US has fought for so many years, and being the mother of democracy, and to me that is a really powerful message for me. But then I realized that that there are people who don't have that insight, that perception of that. It becomes a very personal thing. And so then that is where we look at this feeling of anger and frustration, and as if you are tied with chains even now. And this feeling comes primarily within us, within the borders of our mind, in our perception, in our spirit. We don't feel free, because you can look at your hands and see that they're free. There are no chains there. And if you look at your lineage, you may probably never have somebody who was enslaved, or you may have had someone, and that ignominy is too huge for you to bear. And I understand that. Now I can't say I can walk in those shoes, because those are not my shoes, but I can surely sympathize and empathize. But I think any kind of disruption that is done in anger, with a sense of vengeance, doesn't necessarily propagate healing, or doesn't create a lasting change for the better. It only screams out to a certain amount of people, and then the rest are left behind. It is always good to come to a place of understanding by communicating your sense of frustration, So coming back to this energy, this displaced energy, I saw how I could, handle that situation with these statues, being the lover of the arts that I am, and loving all art for its beauty. I said, I'm going to bring it down to something very simple, and then look at it from a very practical standpoint, and therefore remove the emotion from it and start really meditating on it, to bring healing and peace to those who are going through the anger and the ignominy and the suffering because of it. You see, so I wrote down 3 sentences about the statues, what they meant to me, and also what they can mean in the future for generations to come. And it was a very simple little note, and that was very helpful for me, because then I released my frustration, I said into the universe what I needed to say, and then I stepped back from my emotion. So I replaced that surge of frustration and anger that I had with a little bit more calming, more surreal energy and mindset. Now, this can be very helpful if each of us do this for ourselves. Sometimes we carry anger for many years about something someone has done, something someone has had, and it could be 10 years and we'll still have it in our presence. It becomes a reality for us in our mind in that moment. It's a very powerful thing, and if we are not careful, our present becomes very diluted with our past. And in life, the equals and opposites always remain. Where there is life, there's death. Where there's growth, there's decay. Where there's love, there's hate. And so you can't really separate that, in humanity. And that is the beauty. The flow of human nature teaches us in a much more dynamic way to become so loving and so giving and so forgiving of ourselves, our little idiosyncrasies that we have. I think that some of this anger and frustration that we see with all the protest, with the terrorist, with with the political arena, the sense that we are so divided, is now really being professed by nature. This energy that we generate as human beings has to have a place to go. It's got to go somewhere. If we don't come to an intellectual agreement with ourselves and feel, okay, we are going to pray peace into this segment of anger and frustration that I have, and I'm going to ask God to help me to move this out of my energy and move it into a place of oneness with the universe, to give it over. And if we don't do this and come to a place of groundedness, that's the word I was doing, come to a place of groundedness, we are going to keep fueling the flames, and this energy is going to go into the universe and come down in storms and hails and ultimately destroy we that create and enjoy the beauties of humanity. So today, each of us, if we could learn to forgive ourselves, learn to care for ourselves, and believe that we are one of a universal God, a beautiful God, and we are indeed so blessed to have life within us, to enjoy the essence of the Spirit. And when we enjoy the essence, gratitude comes into our minds, and we are so grateful, as I am so grateful to you. Thank you so much for finding the time today to share our thoughts and well wishes with you. I hope that you too can lend your healing spirit and your prayers. And if you have anger, if you have frustration, and if someone has not treated you well, understand that your energy today towards yourself is very important, because that is what finally goes into the universe and becomes one and becomes whole. Namaste. Have a great day.